Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Flexpo. I'm Ursula Tavender, the Joint CEO and Head of Content here at Flexpo, and I'm really, really lucky and thrilled to be joined by the absolutely incredible Rebecca Newenham, the founder of GetAhead VA, for a brilliant conversation all about whether a franchise could be the next career move that you've been waiting for. So thanks so much for joining us, Rebecca.
Oh, not enough to be here again, Ursula. It's come around so quickly, hasn't it, since the last one, in many ways.
It really has. Yeah, it's terrifying, actually. The time's gone. But thanks so much for joining us today. And we're really excited to have this brilliant conversation with you about franchising. So to kick off then, I really wanted to kind of dive into your story a little bit because it's really, really inspiring. So how did you come to create GetAhead VA?
Wow, good question. So when I've got three children, they're now 16, 18 and 20. So when the 16-year-old was starting primary school, I really felt it was my time to sort of go on to my sort of second career. I'd had a corporate retail buying career with Superdrug and Sainsbury's before I had the girls. And then I had 8 years off, did a few bits of a counselling course, was, PTA chair, all that jazz, but wanted something for myself. And I always remember my mum saying, "You'll find the right thing." And I'm like, "All right, yes." There are limited options in a way, I think, when you've had kids, aren't there, where you feel that I used to look at everyone else in the playground with my older girls and think, oh, they all know what they're doing. And it was a tricky time in many ways when I look back and sort of felt slightly dissatisfied. Didn't really want to go back into the previous role I had. I loved buying, but when you've got kids, it was that classic thing of, I'm not going to get the flexibility. I never really felt it was the career for me. Elements of it were amazing, so the creativity and things, but actually the whole corporate environment, I never felt I was really at home with that. So my mum, when I was growing up, ran a tutorial agency from home, and she was sort of quite iconic really in the 70s, 80s doing that. But I always remember that feeling of she was there for me. So what could I do to replicate that? So did a lot of research, as we all do, and came upon the term virtual assistant. And they were very strong in the States at that time, probably 10 years ahead of us. This research thought, actually, I'm going to try this. I want to make something for myself where I could be in charge and decide what I wanted to do. So set the business up. Branding was a big thing for me with my buying background, I guess, as well. I didn't want it to be based around my name. I wanted something that could potentially have legs and be a bigger brand than just me. So I spent quite a lot of time doing that. And I would say to anyone thinking of setting up their own business, it is worth investing the time in coming up with your name and your logo and your branding, because you get that one opportunity. And obviously you can evolve and change it, but I think if you make it too personal, you are possibly limiting it to you. And my surname is a mouthful, so no one would ever be able to spell that anyway. So it was sort of, how am I going to make something of a brand on this? So GetAhead was born then as GetAhead, your virtual assistant. And I started doing a lot of networking, and I soon realized that networking, however daunting it was at the time, was the way to get my message across. And I started identifying more and more business owners that wanted remote support. So GetAhead is an outsourcing agency. We provide admin and marketing support to busy business owners that really don't have the time to do it themselves, or the desire, or the ability either. So it was networking that proved to me actually this could be bigger than just me. So that was really exciting. And I was able to do it between the girls at school, that sort of 9 to 3. And now leap forward 11, 12 years, one of them's at university, and everything has its challenge, but I've certainly got more time for me now, which is great.
That's incredible. And I think there's so many people here today who will, your story will resonate with them. I'm, nodding furiously at everything you say about that kind of feeling of disconnection between you and the working world, and that sort of feeling of, I've got so much to offer, but exactly. Now it doesn't feel like there's a place for me. So having to sort of carve that place is a really, I guess, it can be the discovery of yourself, can't it? And it can lead to so much opportunity. Yeah. But at the time, it is a really, really lonely place to be. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I know that you are really passionate about being an advocate for change within the franchise industry. So can you just tell us a little bit about that and why that's important to you?
Yes. So my relevance to the franchise was 4 years ago, I realised I wanted to scale the business, but not have it just around me. So franchise then became an option to do that. So we launched the franchise where we give opportunities for, we call them regional directors, to run a territory. But prior to that, I remember thinking, I don't know if I want to go down the sort of franchising route of this. And sort of, for some reason, had a feeling that classically franchise owners were greedy. They took money from their franchisees, and I'd heard that, you never heard from them again. And it just sort of felt, I don't know, I was just not quite sure it really felt the right place for GetAhead to be. But actually, I couldn't have been proven more wrong, because actually by researching and working with a franchise consultant to make sure the business ticked all the boxes, I then realised that actually this is quite an exciting place to be in. And I've loved it ever since. And we got accepted by the British Franchise Association last year. And again, without being rude, they all looked a bit like dinosaurs. I don't know, it was all very suited, and it just didn't really feel like my thing. And I shouldn't really say that, but I have. But then actually, since I've become part of it, I've realised that there is such a wonderful, welcoming industry to be part of. And that's quite unusual, Ursula, isn't it, really? Because often if you're with people possibly looking at some form of competition, then often people would sort of not want to share and be caring, but it couldn't be more opposite to that, which is amazing. And they've given me lovely opportunities to do some speaking, to meet different people. And of course, that plays into my energy and where I love meeting new people. And so it's ticked all those boxes as well. But I was so surprised at the breadth of businesses that are franchised. We always think of McDonald's, don't we, or something as the big main brand, but actually so many smaller ones, and children's franchises especially are vast in terms of baby ballet and swimming. And you suddenly start, oh, I remember that, or I've been a member of that one. It's fascinating. So the British Franchise Association is a really good tool for anyone listening today that's thinking, oh, I'm quite interested to learn more about franchising. I would definitely say have a look there, because you can see all the different franchise businesses across the UK, which is really quite interesting.
That's a great recommendation, a really important piece of advice, I think, isn't it? Particularly if you're looking to find out whether a franchise opportunity is credible or accredited in some way. I think, everybody needs that verification.
They need that reassurance. And I think a franchise gives that business in a box, and that's used a lot, isn't it, that term? But it really is, you do get the bare bones, but you also get the opportunity to put your own mark on it. And I think that's, if I look at my franchisees, they're all so different, but they've got the core values that match mine, but they have been given an opportunity to add their mark to it, to make it theirs. And I think that's a really important thing with franchising, if you've got that ability, especially franchises that are possibly quite young like ours, where you as a franchisee have the opportunity to be involved in any change or growth. It's quite interesting, rather than something that's possibly a little bit stifling.
And I think making the move to completely self-employed can be a really daunting prospect, can't it? So if you have that support and that sort of semi-infrastructure of an established business that you can then take on and personalize, like you say, inject your soul and personality into it, but you've got the backing of that network and that community already.
Absolutely, because it can, like you say, it's quite isolating. I've come across quite a few virtual experts that do work for us that have come from a corporate environment and then suddenly do feel quite lonely, and then that's why they just don't survive in the same way. But with a franchise, you're right, it's tried and tested. You've got an inbuilt community already that you can sort of bounce ideas off, and it's non-competitive. I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Because we all sort of, you suddenly, when you're starting out on your own, you might look on LinkedIn, oh, there are hundreds of people doing what I do. How am I going to make myself different? And it is quite daunting. And I've always said, I've kept my sort of eye on my own lane of the motorway. I've sort of not chosen personally not to look too much at what other people are doing, and be a little bit of a disruptor within the virtual assistant industry, because I'm not a virtual assistant naturally myself, so I knew I didn't want to do the doing. So it's just fascinating. It's about really spending time identifying what you as a personality are about, what you want in the next stage of your career, and realizing you don't have to have the same career forever either, do you? Things evolve and change really quickly, and it's about having a confidence to sort of go with what you need at this precise time, but spending time investing in doing your research is really important, I think, as well.
Some really, really great advice just in those last few sentences.
Because researching it, and we don't always know what opportunities there are, do we? And I think there are so many online portals and things as well where you can get information. And I guess, when I was setting up, Facebook wasn't really a thing. Now there are thousands of groups. It's almost can be quite daunting as well, which is why Flexpo is such a wonderful opportunity for everyone today to be able to really get proper information, but also such a breadth of information, which is really important.
It's really important to us that people have, like you say, access to the information to make informed decisions about what's right for them. you know, and that's what we love about working with you, in that, you know, the transparency and the support that you are able to give the people within your community. I suppose, you know, values wise, we're quite well aligned, aren't we?
Oh no, totally. Yeah,
is why the partnership works so brilliantly. So we've talked a little bit about the types of businesses that can be franchised, but I just want to move on to talk a little bit, if it's all right, about the barriers, because there are quite significant barriers, aren't there, that prevent people from exploring franchising as a career option. So I'd just like to talk to you a bit about that, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think there can be a sort of feeling that perhaps you're buying a franchise and you're very restricted, and actually that isn't the case. But equally, different franchise owners have different values and different ways of doing things. So I would say to anyone to be very clear on really understanding what's involved when you're buying a franchise. Because I've got 10 at the moment and 1 in Australia. For me, my role is in mentoring and supporting, but you may find that some franchise owners, where they've got hundreds of franchise offices, that they're not. We're based on a postcoded area, so it is non-competitive. You buy a territory, while other franchises, you could have someone down the road that's doing the same business as you. So it's interesting just sort of understanding how the structure works as well, which is important, rather than just assuming everyone's the same. Looking at the training, how transparent the franchise owner is as well, because I will always insist that a potential franchisee chats to at least 1 or 2 of my franchisees to really understand what it's like being one of them. Because everyone, I can say it as it is from my point of view, but I think that to actually get behind and understand the case studies and who they're meeting, and check people out online as well. So we spend a lot of time marketing, and I believe we're consistent wherever we show up. But again, some people aren't necessarily, or perhaps they say they do one thing and they don't. So it's that research piece, but not assuming that every franchise is the same. And they have different terms as well. We're a 5-year license. Some people might not be. We have a percentage of turnover. Other people might do things slightly differently.
Again, it's informing yourself with all the facts so you can make a balanced decision, isn't it, about investing in what's right for you. So once somebody comes on board, then what support do they need, I suppose, and how do you meet that need?
So everyone has, for us as a franchise, we do a sort of informed induction. So it's a 2-day come and meet me, and then we bring different members of the team together. And again, that's something to look at if you're looking at different franchises. What's the induction process like? And some will obviously be, if it's product based, you need much more of a working knowledge. Well, with mine, they need to understand how to network, how to meet business owners, but the actual doing of the work is done by our team of virtual experts, which is a huge benefit. So one of my franchisees, I'm not expecting them to carry out client work. It's almost like I always say, it's a bit like sort of the dating. You match the right person within our team, so that gives the scalability. Because that's another big point. If you're buying into a franchise, how scalable is it? Because everyone has different motivations. So I've got one franchisee who wants to earn a certain amount of money each month and works so many hours, while I've got others that want to sort of, for personal circumstances, they can earn more by doing more hours because their children are grown up. So it's all very much based on your own sort of environment and your circumstances.
I think that's the great thing about it, isn't it? Is the flexibility, and that's the crux of what we're here to talk about, is how we can all get the career flexibility that we deserve. So this is, it's really interesting, kind of getting under the hood of what.
Well, I know. So what works for one person might not for someone else, and there's no right or wrong about it, isn't it? But I think, as with Flexpo, our values are all around supporting the individual in whatever they're wanting to achieve and what they need to be achieving for themselves. And I've always been very good. I don't work long hours. I'm not very good in the evening. Well, some of my team are better in the evening than they are earlier in the day. So it's being sort of honest and understanding where your flow is and what you want to achieve realistically for your family unit, for yourself.
I think that role modelling is really important, isn't it? Particularly for you as the franchise owner. Is really role modeling that flexibility, showing that it's not just, again, it's not just what you say is possible, and then you get into it and actually that's not how it really works, which is so often the case, isn't it?
I know, strip it back and go, that wasn't quite what
absolutely. And so I think the the fact that you really walk the walk and make sure
I
that
know,
your team are able to do the same. I think that is so inspiring. So I really want to talk to you next about what someone who's considering buying into a franchise would need to know about themselves. What do you need to know about yourself to buy into a franchise?
Yeah, good question. So you need to, I think you need to be honest, don't you? Think, well, am I a self-starter? Am I able to take something and run with it? Because not everyone is. I have conversations with some people and they turn out to be better to be a doer and a member of our virtual team than they would be to go and network and stand up in front of a room of people they don't know and promote what they're doing. But sort of having that confidence of thinking, well, can I do this? Because I in particular need people that will be engaging, will listen, but not everyone wants that in their career. Some people like to be told what to do, don't they, and have a framework. So I think that's one thing to sort of really consider, but also to remember it's not like like we said before, you're not a total entrepreneur where you're having to set something up completely from scratch. It's the entrepreneurial spirit is what I think binds every franchisee together, is that ability. They're keen, they're interested, they want to create something bigger than just them.
There's so much to it, isn't there?
Oh, well, I know, totally. And it's about what suits you at this stage. Like I said, the children's activities, it's amazing what's around. But I love the energy that comes with that. But not everyone wants to buy into a swimming franchise. And it's just interesting the different opportunities that exist for businesses that you might not even have known about.
And remind me what the organisation's name was where you can find out.
BFA, so the British Franchise Association. They list all the different members and they have different events. And of course, you've got not just the different franchises, you've got the affiliates and suppliers within that industry, which again is fascinating.
Okay.
The different consultancies and things. And
sounds like an amazing resource.
No, it is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And easy to tap into with free webinars and things like that as well. So I think that's, for all of us, it's the research that takes the time, but you need to do that sort of due diligence. Words I can never say without due diligence, yeah, but you need to do that, don't you, to really sort of have an understanding of what opportunities there are.
And it's really handy to have that all brought together into one place, isn't it? So that you don't
absolutely
looking for it. Yeah. So, some real nuggets of information here, Rebecca. Thank you so much. To end, then, if you could share one piece of advice with our audience who might be considering a career move to owning a franchise, and I realise that's quite a challenging thing to ask because there's probably a million things that you'd tell them. But if you could share one thing, what would it be?
I can't string lots of sentences together. So
okay, go ahead. See what comes out.
I said, do, and I keep banging on about research, but do your research, speak to people, don't make assumptions. I think that's a big thing. Don't make any assumptions in whatever you're choosing to do here. It's about having an open mind and trying to visualize yourself in that, but also to try things. Don't worry about, I haven't got confidence to do whatever it is. It's about having quite an open mind, doing your research and just giving it a go. What's the worst that can happen? But I think it's being totally honest with yourself, but it has to work for you in the situation that you're in. If you're, for example, got young children and you're looking into different things, you need to feel really comfortable that this is going to work for you and not put you under even more stress. Because that's a big thing. I think you'd agree with me with that, wouldn't you? That you sort of tip yourself over the edge just because you think you should be doing something. It's about making sure the timing's right for you.
And that's the big challenge with setting up your own thing, I think, isn't it? The actual demand on you in terms of setting up all the respective elements. So from that point of view, I think understanding, and this links back to the research piece, doesn't it? Understanding in reality by speaking to different people who have done the same thing as what you're proposing to do, all of that research plays into your decision as to whether it's right for you, doesn't it?
No, totally.
I just think that supports franchising as a brilliant career move because the infrastructure is already there.
Oh, totally. And I look at, as I said before, the breadth of my current franchisees. I've got one that's got little children, one's at school, one's at preschool, and it's lovely to see her confidence growing in the last year since she started working with us, and it's sort of suddenly opening doors to other things. And then the other end of that, I've got one franchisee who's got grown up kids, and it's giving her a different sense of purpose. So it can fit whatever you're doing, but you just need to feel comfortable. And it's not all about how much cash you're going to make every month either.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much more.
Yeah, exactly.
So much more to it. So how can our audience find out more from you if they want to get in touch with you?
I will have a virtual stand here today, which is great, and I'll be on hand for any questions. And then look me up on LinkedIn, and also I've got a couple of websites, one solely about the franchise, and then the GetAhead VA one, which links back into that as well. So yeah, covers all the bases.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Rebecca.
Loved it.
It's been an absolute joy to talk to you. I feel like we've covered an awful lot of ground in not very long.
This is not tour of franchising.
Yeah, but it's hugely useful and informative, and as I promised, inspiring for our audience. So can't thank you enough.
Best.
Thank you.